righty. So the little live ticker is on, just waiting for it to come through on YouTube to know that we're good to go.
Awesome.
All right. Okay, there it is. Oh, Simone.
Yay. So happy to be here.
How are you today, friend?
I'm good. It's Friday. Yeah, it's been a good week. I'm glad that we've gotten past most of this cold front here in North Carolina. So we're having a more typical fall day. So and it's my favorite season. So I'm good. How are you?
Oh. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, of course.
I'm good. I'm looking outside because I think we've got some overcast over here and maybe some rain coming in this afternoon. I am well. It's been a week. It's been one of those weeks where I have, things haven't gone as planned. And so I'm constantly needing to sort of adjust the expectations I have around what is going to get done and keep intentionally choosing around like what is important. One of my daughters wasn't feeling well. They had events at school. Things happened at home, work stuff, just a lot of things. So I'm moving through that slight energy of like that disappointment that I didn't get all the things done that I wanted to get done.
Oh, yes.
And it gets to be the perfect opportunity to put Tipa in practice and just sort of like get present, like to the wisdom of the moment. How can I meet myself with grace and love in this moment, and then figure out like, all right, what do we do going forward?
Yeah.
Without judgment for what I didn't get done. So that's how I am today, and I couldn't be more thrilled. A week with you, so thank you so much for agreeing to join us today.
Of course. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, I have been following what feels like following like the energy and what feels really aligned around this. And as folks have naturally been reaching out to me, like voice notes or texts saying the ways in which the podcast is resonating with them, I've felt called to say, why don't we bring this to a more public forum, so that while there may be aspects of my story that resonate with folks. There may be aspects of your story that resonate with others. So we're just expanding that web of connection, right? And so I love that. I'm so grateful that you accepted to do this. And feeling thrilled about it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I mean, I told you we could talk all day, every day about all of this stuff, and it still wouldn't be enough. But I'm so excited to be able to have other people listen in on what feels like our normal conversations every time we talk.
Exactly. So I think we both got our tea, right?
Yes, we do. I got mine. Got my little tea.
I grabbed.
This is Tipa tea time. That's what this is.
Oh, Tipa tea time. I like that. I might have to try that. So today is tea time. I wanted my Egyptian, like there's like this mint licorice tea I love, but I think from the last one. So I'm going with ginger turmeric today.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on lemon ginger. So we're both on the ginger train today.
Awesome. Well, Simone, I would love to just kick off. First of all, tell us just a little bit about you and also how we know each other.
Yeah. So I am Simone Hill Okafor, and how do I describe myself these days? And we'll get into all of that too. Why I pause before I even do it. So I am a mother, I am a wife, I am a businesswoman, I am a lover of all things culture and community. I've been doing that in my work a lot for the past over a decade now, but it really permeates into everything that I do in my life. I'm that person in my family, and so and then Natalie and I know each other from business school. We are business school classmates. Still like one of like my favorite people, probably top 3 in the world, especially when it comes to hugs. Natalie gives the most like like full essence wrapped around you kind of hug. It, like, she means it when she hugs you. So definitely top 3 huggers in my life for sure. But yeah, so we got to know each other in business school.
I did not know that I held that like status.
Absolutely. Anytime that you hug me, I'm like bracing myself. I'm like, oh yes, I want all this goodness. I'm so ready.
I mean, I love me a good hug. So
Yes.
I'm glad that
Yes.
you can feel it.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going, gosh, what was it? Get our
2012 is when
10-year.
we met. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And then
Gosh.
we had our 10-year reunion
Last
last
year.
year. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so we have managed to continue to nurture this
Mhm.
friendship as we have progressed into different life seasons and stages and chapters, which has just been awesome. And you have
Mhm.
been such a source of support for me in ways that you may not even fully have
Mm.
comprehended, as I have been navigating my own, you know, transitions and identity shifts and everything that has
Mhm.
been coming up along the way. So I'm so grateful for you. And when you say the ways, which we'll get into in a minute, the ways in which
Mhm.
the podcast has been supporting you, it just
Yes.
feels
Mhm.
uh, like such a gift. And like that's what life is about. Like we are in this dance of pouring into and supporting each other in these very reciprocal ways. And one season you're saying the thing that's sparking the hope in me, and then one season I'm doing that. And so it's such a
Mhm.
gift to, as you said, lover of all things culture and community. And I think
Yes.
that is having a culture, having communities of care and
Mhm.
of holding each other's journeys and
Yeah.
stories with love and reverence, and
Mhm.
reminding us that we don't need to we don't, there needs to be no shame in where we are, right?
Yeah.
That our entire journey is sacred. And
Right.
oftentimes that's actually a mantra that I've had on my computer for a while as I judge myself for my journey. And
Yeah.
I'm like, the entire journey is sacred. If I were to believe that, right, how
Mhm.
might I meet myself in that moment? And we forget. So it's so great to have people in our community that
Yeah.
reflect that back to us. So
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
thank you
No,
for
I
being
think
my
that
life.
this yeah, absolutely. And I think and I'll try not to just make this entire time me just like gushing over you, but it's hard not to do. But I mean, I think over the past 10 plus years, you've given me so much, like you said, similarly, unintentionally, but, or even without knowing it, but you have definitely been one of the people in my life that has helped me to become more empathetic, right? Like you approach things, life, and people always, even when someone is being egregiously to the left, you always approach them with a,
Not on the political spectrum, but
yeah,
yeah,
yes, yeah, not on the political spectrum, but just like out, like a
just
little bit wonky, little
way
or
out
just
there.
wrong, like flat out
Yeah.
wrong in some way or disrespect, whatever it is, right? Any like even if that person is coming at you with the wrong energy, I've always watched you approach them with this curiosity of what else could be going on in here, and without judgment, with the just genuine curiosity. And I think from what I've learned and observed and what I now how I try to live and in my work is to approach things with that sense of curiosity, understanding that curiosity is the basis for empathy, right? You can't be empathetic towards someone else's situation unless you are curious about learning about that situation, right? And so I think you have been such an incredible example for me of how to do that, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.
Wow, Simone, you are you're pouring it on. I will receive that. And what comes up for me though is it's how curious that level of uh, empathy and curiosity, that noticing that it has come so much easier when I direct it towards others. And I feel like so much
Mm.
of this journey has been
Yeah.
like it is like recalibrating so that like how I'm showing up for others is in line with how I show up for myself.
Mm-hmm,
And that's
mm-hmm,
the work because
mm-hmm.
nobody knows that I'm behind the scenes giving myself a hard time
Yeah.
in this swirl and spiral. And like so much of this journey has been restoring how like my inner experience with the one that I'm projecting outward and creating for
Yeah.
others. So
Yeah.
that and Tipa, like I
Mhm.
have been claiming that over and over again, even this week
Mhm.
as I got in a little bit of the spiral
Mm.
about recording the second half of the season, and it's
Mhm.
taking me time. And I'm like, girl, like I have my one girlfriend B, she's always like, be in your process, boo. She's like, just be in your process.
Yes.
Drop the judgment,
Yeah.
and that has been for me in this season of stepping into creating more. I have been learning what my creative process looks like. And I have this story that I should be able to just pump things out, right? Weekly. And the truth is I recorded these 5 episodes that just dropped over the last like 2 years. And now I'm trying to record the second half of the season, and I'm trying to practice meeting myself with empathy and curiosity. If it's not flowing from me, like if I lead with curiosity and not judgment, what does that unearth for me? And how can I meet myself and adjust my process in a way that is supportive and not, inflicting self-induced judgment and shame. So thank you for that, Simone.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I feel like you are, and if there are questions you want to like, I feel like if I'm tripping over questions that you're asking, just tell me, like, let me ask this question first of all. But no, I just wanted to, like, one of the things that you just said, I think for me is what's resonated so much with me for the podcast so far. Right. Which is this, being way more self-compassionate, which I also struggle with, right? Because it's difficult to be compassionate or empathetic outwardly unless it starts here, right? It all starts here. And I think we both, went to one of the top business schools in the world. We are, workaholics, recovering ones, maybe recovering people pleasers,
still recovering,
that, right? and so it's hard to undo decades long narrative that's what you have to do, right? You have to always be on. You have to always do the thing, right? But I've definitely been learning that it's completely antithetical to what a normal, or maybe not even normal, but what a creative process is supposed to be, right? It is supposed to flow from you. That's when it feels the most authentic. From my experience, that's also when it feels the most authentic to others, right? When you're not phoning it in, it just feels like this is the natural extension of me. But it's hard. It's hard to undo all of that for both of us. Corporate America, hustle culture, like, no, you have the deadline and you meet the deadline. And if you don't, like, there's some shame or guilt or, in that, and trying to get through that. One of the things that I'll say, and I can't remember, there's an actual kind of theory or phenomenon or whatever. I can't remember what it's called, but it's helped me so much with some of the things that I'm working on creatively. At the face value, it sounds mean, but I think it's really freeing, which is people care way less about you than you think, right? And I don't mean like they don't care if you live or die, but meaning like they're not paying that much attention to you and what you're doing, right? They, of course, especially people that love you or just resonate with what you're doing, will tune in, right? But I had to remind myself, like, I don't think there is anyone in this world that will like just completely lose it if this thing doesn't get posted today. You know what I mean? Like, just let that go. Like, they care way less about what everybody has their own thing going on, right? And so that has helped me so much to kind of free myself a little bit, again, still a process, from this kind of churning, this treadmill, right, that we've been trained to be on, and we've been really effective at being on, right? So I've been trying to remind myself, like, people care, but not that much, right?
Yes. And I think you're spot on. And that tracks with what I was thinking about this week. And I'll comment here, and then I want to get
of course.
The podcast. But yeah, just like, I think that's part of this journey of which I really think of like as liberating ourselves from everything we've taken on as the rules, both written and unwritten, that we need to follow. For oftentimes it was like, in order to be safe, financially secure, to survive, to be accepted, like, and all of that makes sense. And the truth is, that it's like I think of the Alice Walker quote, like, one of the greatest ways we give away our power is by believing we don't have any. And it's like the self-imposed rules that actually, so I'm thinking I have to drop a podcast episode every Tuesday.
Mhm.
Actually, I don't. I set that
Mhm.
schedule because it felt good, but then life came up and you
Mhm.
even said, and like the flow wasn't happening. Like
Mhm.
I can't, like the creativity doesn't happen in a rigid schedule or with the
Right.
flip of a switch. I
Right.
have to be primed for it. And it does, if it is going to be authentic, I have to be in the right place for it.
Mhm.
And so it's like, whose rules am I following?
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
arbitrary one that content creators need to be, like you
Yep.
have to follow that. And so
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I actually do have choice here. And I also
Mhm.
have the power to be the author of the narrative around why this
Yeah.
all makes sense for me.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and like coming back to what I've been saying yes to and what I've been centering and choosing, like being, and I think I was talking about like matching how I show up with how I feel on the inside. And I
Mhm.
think for a long time, the perfectionist and overachiever and workaholic in me was I could put on a really good show. You needed
Yeah.
like that killer presentation, that pitch, that PowerPoint, you name it, like that report. And I was going to show up. It was going to be solid. But what you didn't see was the suffering that went on behind the scene, the late night, the sweating, the like shoveling 15 cookies into my mouth as I'm procrastinating, and then I feel depleted and, I'm running on adrenaline when I got to show up the next day. And I'm like, I am making a conscious choice to be done with that. Like I deserve the experience behind the scenes deserves to feel as good as what presents forward. And that is the sort of alignment that I want. So I think that's also, it's like for so many years, I knew how to show up and get stuff done. But there was a lot of self-sacrifice that went on.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not willing to stay up till 2:00 in the morning anymore. I'm not willing to not be present to my family in the evenings, and the dinner. Sometimes, sometimes we make that conscious choice because we have to, but I feel like, and that is realizing that we have like the power over and over again to take those tipas and to choose that which, what you are centering, what you're prioritizing in terms of your values. And that gets to be the authentically lived life that makes you feel fulfilled and happy, right? Even if you miss the deadline. You're like, I know what I was saying yes to.
Yeah.
So I sigh because I'm in that right now.
And all of it's easier said than done, so yeah.
So let us talk about, because, you have, we established we have had now multi-decade friendship and inspiring and supporting each other all along the way. And you came to me when you started listening to this podcast because you were like, some things are really like popping for me, landing. So I'm wondering what has been, and it doesn't have to be everything, whatever comes to your mind right now, but like what has been stirring within you as you have been on this journey of the season 1 of Tipa Revolution?
Yeah, for sure. So a few things. So I'm a huge podcast person. I subscribe to so many, and one of the things I do every day is kind of look through okay, which of my podcasts has new episodes, and I add them to my library and all of that. And so I love podcasts, and I listen to a bunch of different ones, but I think lately I've been struggling a lot with finding content that feels like it aligns with where I am in my life. So I mentioned I'm a mom. I have 2 little ones, one who's 2 and one who is 3 months old today. So Zora and Namdi. And I have been working for myself since 2021. I took a longer break after my daughter came back, and then got pregnant almost immediately after I came back. And so I'm now kind of semi working it and trying to get some stuff done, but again, still with for myself and some of my creative projects. And so much of what I had been listening to were things that were kind of like the hustle culture, things like this is the best way to get your startup to, be an 8-figure business, whatever it is, right? It was a lot of that. And so it definitely felt like that's not where I was in my life. I'm like, I can't, every tip that I'm hearing, I can't do. You clearly either don't have young children or you have a lot of help, right? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I was just like, it's just not resonating. And then I was also just in this, am in this season of feeling like I need to, and really want to redefine my life yet again, right? one of the biggest kind of seismic level shifts that happened with both of my kids, but especially with my daughter, was just this complete kind of lack of identity. Like, who am I? Don't recognize myself, and not just physically, but just the whole shebang, right? And so and now I'm in this journey of like, okay, well, who is Simone, and like, how do I even figure out who she is now with this whole life, right? And when I listened to your first 2 episodes back to back, because after the first one, I was like, okay, I gotta go to the next one. And I feel like, Natalie, you were like 5 at least years ahead of me in terms of life stage. So as you're doing your story, you're talking about your story, you're reliving it. I'm like, I'm exactly here. Like, give me all of the advice. Because what you're describing from that's exactly where I am. So it was the first time in forever where I felt like I heard myself, or heard kind of my journey, or where I was in my journey, in someone else's, right? I'm like, somebody gets it in a way that I hadn't heard before. And then you're just an incredible storyteller. You drew me in, and all of that. And even though I know many of your stories, hearing it again, and especially with where I am in my life, just hit differently. And so there's a lot of different things. So that's kind of how it hit me at first. And then as I was listening to like your actual revelations, and how you did and are still processing things, I think what it's boiled down to me, for me, is values alignment. And we just talked about this, right? It's like, how do I strip away all of the titles and labels that I've had in my life, if I just go back to the core of who I am? And that I say this for every person, even every company that I work for, right? That's your values, like who you are at your core. That's what your values are. What is that? Has that changed? And if anything, they haven't changed. They've just gotten even more solidified, right? They're just even more clear. They're even more of a compass for me. And so the podcast, the way you tell your story, sounds like that exact thing. And every episode sounds like, how do I, in various situations, whether it's with work, with my husband, so on and so forth, how can I live outwardly those values that are core to me? So that's kind of how I've been listening to it.
Oh,
you're so funny.
Oh, just taking it in, and just on like appreciating, like honoring. It's a lot of feelings for me too, as I listen to you say that, because I hear you, like the massive identity shifts that happen as we transition into these stages. Nothing, despite all of my like type A overachiever prep energy, could have prepared me for how I was going to change from the inside out as I stepped into motherhood. And even from 1 to 2 kids, like I still, it's like it was like the priority that I was placing on work. Not that work is not important. Like doing meaningful work and contributing to the world is outside the home was always important to me. But the way in which I did it before kids was so dialed up, and my husband was understanding. Family was always important, but he was understanding. And then all of a sudden you got these one little person, and you're like, how do I rejigger things to make more space to like, because you're like, oh, it actually is important for me to show up for my child, this human. Oh my God, and I'm like freaking out about, your diapers, and you're eating enough, and like all these things that you couldn't have prepared for. And then it shifts even more when a second one comes around. And I guess I have this, it's almost like this expanding space, that these other parts of your life start to take up. And then like our time and energy are finite. Like that's real. That's so right. I couldn't show up, like work couldn't take up like all of me as it did before, as family, as like the children were coming on. And so just like you were talked about like the living in alignment with your values, and like honoring family when I didn't have kids looked different. Like family was always important to me, but it looked different before I was a mother. Right. And then family started to mean something different. So just there's so much there. So you talked about like you picked up on something when you were messaging me and you're like, I feel like
Mhm.
so much of this is about identity shifts. And like,
Yes.
I sort of imply it, I don't say it. And
Yeah.
if you'll notice, I introduce myself slightly differently in
Mhm.
every episode because
Mhm.
I wanted to intentionally suggest that like who I was when I was, at that moment evolved and was different. And like the identities that felt most prominent and front and center, change.
Mhm.
So I'd love to hear a little bit like so this question of identity, what are
Yeah.
you exploring, pondering right
Gosh,
now?
so many things, both for myself, but then like outwardly too. And this is like goes back to what we were saying about like creativity being so tied to you having the kind of giving yourself the space for stuff to flow through. And so identity for me now is, I mean, mom is what I lead with because that's what I feel like I am most of the time. Again, I'm back in the newborn trenches plus toddler, pray for me, girl, because whew, every day, every morning, every evening, it's a lot. And they're fantastic kids. I mean, I love them to death, but it's a lot. And I grew up with a lot of kids and like around me, and yet and still nothing prepared me for having my own. So like, and when I think about my own identity, I do think about it as like the various kind of hats that I wear. It is mom, it is wife, it is kind of household CEO, which I really enjoy. I'm surprised by, but like that part. But I'm like, I like the fact that I know, like, okay, this goes here, and okay, this doctor's appointment is here. It's a lot, but I'm like, it feels cool, like to just be like, all right, I'm the person that's moving things around here, right? So that,
Yes.
like the orchestrator of the family, that feels like a really fun title. And then the one that is, I would say, the most nascent for me is trying to figure out my new identity from a career perspective, because like you said, right, like there's only so much time in the day. And I love Beyonce, but I do not have her support around her. So her 24 hours is very different from my 24 hours. Right. And so and even though I love wearing all of those other hats of mom, like household CEO, wife, all that, also sister, right, daughter, all that, like career still is really important to me, right? I do feel like there is something outside of my house that I still want to and can contribute to society. And so my work prior to the kids, and to some extent still, like I said, it's been around culture and community. I've been the person to go into companies, primarily both for profit and nonprofit, to help them kind of figure out, restart, or just start their cultures, and do so really from this basis of values, right? Like, how do we operationalize your values so that it's a living and breathing thing that really permeates every part of your business, right? So that's what I do. But this identity stuff for me, since having my son, I've processed so much from both now kids, that made me realize that identity is something that the identity shifts that happen in motherhood is something that nobody had ever talked to me about. I remember with Zora, I got so much information from my my OB-GYN about like the baby blues and postpartum depression, and these are the signs to look out for. So I felt kind of prepared for like, okay, I can label this thing if it happens, right? I took the baby classes, or like there was a lot of prep for my daughter. But nobody talked to me about the fact that like your whole sense of who you are, like physically, mentally, emotionally, hormonally, is going to change, just full stop, and in ways that you can't even imagine. And so like the whole first year of postpartum with my daughter, I thankfully did not have postpartum depression, but I was a hot mess. Like, I don't recognize myself. I just don't know who I am. I spent 35 years knowing Simone. Like, we were cool. Like, I had my style down. I had, like all of these things, like felt like I walk in a room and I know who I am. I had her and I was like, I don't know nothing. Just, and it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just physical. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not the same size, my clothes don't fit. Yes, those were true. It just felt like inwardly, like, I don't know how my life looks now. My values, yes, are the same, but how do I do this now? What's the outward manifestation of those values in this way? And so I say all of that to say I've been over the past few months, like talking to more mothers, and I was lucky enough to be surrounded by moms with both of my kids, like us having kids at the same time. So I just started having conversations with other women who were in what I consider early motherhood, and just started talking like, what surprised you most, right? Like, did you experience this identity thing? How did you describe it? Like, how did you start to feel like you or a new version of yourself again? And it's I started to realize like we all had some version of this. Nobody prepared us for it. And what's worse, there was no support for it either. Right. And so I'm now in a place where I'm taking like all of my identity chaos and trying to put something together for early mothers. And when I say early mothers, I'm thinking like with children between 0 to 5 years old, trying to put something together. I don't know what it's going to be yet. Again, letting the creative process flow, and trying to figure out what's a way in which we can find the support that we need through that seismic shift that we all experience. So that's where I'm at now in terms of identity, and then like how it's outwardly manifesting.
I'm thinking of this week, when you sent me, there's so much that's coming up for me, but when you sent me the message saying like, I took my Tipa this week. And what was that? You want to share?
Yes.
Yeah.
I took my first Tipa this week was to put together a survey. So like I said, I'd had these conversations kind of just in my friend groups, and I'm like, let's see if this is a broader thing, right? And so I put together just a Google form survey, nothing branded. I didn't go out and get a logo or anything like that. And just sent it to my network, sent it to everybody I knew that had children or like were just people generally, right? And just asked like, hey, can you share this broadly? And I've gotten so many responses already. I'm still trying to sort through all the data, but the lesson already, 2 lessons. One, just start, right? That's the whole purpose of the Tipa, like the small step, right? But the second lesson was like, there's something here. There's a need here that is being unmet. And it's like, I wake up every morning like, let me see if there's one more Tipa I can take. And anytime that has happened for me in the past, that's to me, God telling me, you're on the right track, girl. Keep going. So that was my Tipa this week, and it's paid off already just to hear different people's stories. There's people that want to connect with me and talk more and figure out how they can help too. So I'm really excited about that.
I'm celebrating you, Simone. There's, I see everything through the lens of Tipa, and it's like you only can discern that action-oriented Tipa by having created the space to meet yourself non-judgmentally and be curious about like, what is feeling alive for me right now? And then honoring that, like, even if it's different from how what and how you did what you did to serve the world before, it's like being present to your evolution and and like, there's information in every moment. There's wisdom in every moment. And you said, I hear a little, that just woke up.
My mom's coming to get him. I'm like, oh, he's awake.
But just acknowledge, like the Tipas, they're yes, it's action, which is awesome. But there's also that tender moment where you meet yourself lovingly and you're like, I'm different. I need something different right now. And and so and being curious, even holding yourself in that way, like that is the Tipa, without the judgment of what should a Stanford MBA be doing postpartum? Yeah, like that's never come into your mind, right?
Yes.
Freeing yourself of holding yourself to anybody else's standard or expectation, because when you take that time to attune to that which feels most alive and resonant to you, and then you take action in alignment with that, like a vote for that, a Tipa for that, like that is a fulfillment that you get. That's the truest form of success in my mind. It's a fulfillment that you get to experience, and then that's going to fuel you, And so I saw the way you lit up when you were just talking about the response that you've gotten. And when I saw your survey, my initial reaction was, God, I wish someone was asking me these questions when I was in the 2 kids under
Yeah.
3 phase,
Mhm.
I felt very alone in a lot of ways. I had,
Mhm.
some friends, but not a local community and
Yeah.
certainly not like an online forum where I really
Yeah.
felt like I could connect with folks. So
Yeah.
what a gift that you were onto something, like a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift that I believe you're onto something, and what a gift that you're taking action on it.
Yes.
Um, and
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so exciting to be in that space of like like I said, I think God speaks in whispers, right? In little things, little nudges, or maybe it's persistent nudges, like, okay, there's all right, I gotta go. Like there's something like propelling me forward. And and it's just been a constant, really since my postpartum experience with my first child. But with this one, I was like, okay, all right, this is really something, because it wasn't a fluke. You know what I mean? Like, all right, the first time, if it happened once, then it would have felt like maybe, okay, maybe it's just me, right? But this time I'm like, all right, this actually feels like something that might be something that a lot of people experience. And the more that I dig into it, the more that I talk to people, the more I feel kind of convicted that like there's a lot that can be done. And your point about like this notion of like, what is a Stanford MBA supposed to do postpartum? Girl, when I tell you, I have
put that
had
on the
that
shelf.
thought
You.
so many, and it was so limiting. It's so crazy to like think like, well, this is what a Stanford MBA is supposed to do. The supposed, I call them, and I apologize for cussing, but the shitty shoulds is what I call them. Like the shoulds, like I should be doing this, and it just makes you feel shitty. The shitty
Stop
shoulds, right?
shitting on yourself.
Yes.
I love that.
Right. And so,
Oh,
and it was, and it's that kind of thinking though, that I felt like was holding me back from even taking that first TIPA. And so, but now the way that I think about the Stanford thing, for example, is actually this is a degree that's supposed to free me up to do whatever I want, right? Like it shows up in different ways, right? So I'm
right.
trying to reframe that, right? That mindset constantly, because yeah, there's that little, gremlin on your shoulder telling you you should do this, you should do
It's
that.
true. It's so true. I love the reframe, because you're like,
Mhm.
what was the whole point? Right. And because I think there's the part of me that is like, am I doing what a Stanford MBA should do? Which isn't
Yeah.
that voice isn't as loud as it was before. And
Mhm.
I think when I get curious, I'm like, what is important to you? That part of me, like, and I think that
Yeah.
part of me is like, you need to make the most of the fact that you have had this
Yeah.
incredible
Mhm.
privilege of going to an institution like that. So
Yeah.
are you doing the most? You
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you care about me having an impact that's commensurate with the
Mhm.
amount of privilege that I have been
Yep.
blessed with. Okay,
Right.
with that. And for me, I come back to, well, how do I create the greatest impact in the world? Like, I have to be acting from a place that feels like the
Mhm.
truest, most authentic expression of myself.
Mhm.
That's how the magic happens. If
Yeah.
I'm forcing myself into some version or path that doesn't feel authentically or uniquely mine, then I'm not being the unique instrument that I am meant to be. So it's
Yeah.
also, so I know it may not look like whatever we want to define as the
Mhm.
standard sort of
Mhm.
marker of success for Stanford MBA.
Yeah.
So I also claim that, like, I'm doing like I'm claiming the freedom that I have,
Mhm.
and I'm claiming the honoring of like being in my like cultivating a life that feels like the most aligned and truest expression of myself, and that
Mhm.
trust that
Yeah.
impact be like whatever is meant to come from that will come, because
Yeah.
I'm doing my job. I'm being
Yeah.
unique me,
Yep.
and
Yep.
every time you feel that aliveness, I also, some people talk about it like the energetic breadcrumbs. That's God
Mm.
telling you, like,
I
you
love
on
that. Yeah.
something. It's
That's
hot,
right.
it's hot, and then you move away.
That's
That's
right.
cold. I like to
Mhm.
play a lot of like that game of hot or cold, and you
Mhm.
feel it like we did when you were younger.
Yep.
Would hide something, and warmer, colder. When you feel that warmth, you feel that when it's hot. And so the more time I've spent doing things that feel hot and really alive,
Mhm.
when I do something that feels cold, that's not authentically me, that's because of the shoulds, it
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
cold. It doesn't
Yeah.
feel, I don't feel that aliveness. And so I'm like, all right, time to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
The next
Mhm.
back towards what feels,
Mhm.
warm and alive.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and the last thing that I'll say about it, like I think again, your values are for sure your compass, right? Like that is what will
yep.
always be the thing to bring you back. And for me, the what I found myself doing was allowing ego to take over. Like, and I think everybody has it, right? Like it's fine, and I think a little bit is great, right? Like it can be great ambition or kind of push you in an ambitious path, all that stuff. But like I found myself making decisions of what to do and oftentimes what not to do just from a place of ego, not values alignment, right? And where this happened most was this sense, again, coming from Stanford, of scale, right? Like, oh, I shouldn't do that because it's not going to be big enough, right? I'm not going to be able to scale that. I'm not going to eat that type of thing. And I'm just like, but that's ego, right? That nothing in my own values has anything to do with like scale, right? Impact and scale are two different things. They're related, but they are different, right? Right. You can have an impact just on one person's life that does have like a downstream potential scale impact, right? Versus like, yeah, I have to reach 1 million users in 5 years, right? But that's, again, we've been trained to think that way. And so for me, I've had to, especially in the past, since I've had Namdi, and what helped me to make this first small tipa this week was going back to like, is this question of, is that ego talking, or is this my values? Like let's go back to like what I really want, what really matters to me. And I was like, this is what matters. Let's just put this survey out, see what happens, right? And like you said, those energetic breadcrumbs have just been like, oh, okay, so that went well, right? Meaning I got some information and it seems like it's pushing me in this direction. So let's take one more step, right? And that's the tipa.
And you got feedback from people, and you got feedback from your body,
Yes.
and then that fuels you. I have to, there's one thing you just said that I had to pick up on, because how ironic, since we were just talking about Stanford and you were saying you come back to what matters most to you. And
Yes.
And that is, for those who've not applied their first essay question is, what matters most to you and why?
Yeah.
And it's so funny because
what was yours, Natalie? I can't remember. You told me before. You told me before.
It's fun. Well, it was self-acceptance. And so it's funny because the person I was who answered that knew that wisdom to be true, but I have a completely different perspective on it now, 15, 12 years out. Yeah. But the point, like, I love that Stanford invites you to think about that question. And that's the sort of population that they want to invite into the school, people who are thinking about what matters most to you. And there's a version of ourselves that's writing that when we're 20 something years old. And it looks different 10, 15, whatever years later. But absolutely. I look back and it actually, like, I remember thinking, oh, is that the sort of thing they're going to want to hear? But when I look back, like complete and total self-love and self-acceptance and self-trust, and like honoring the beauty and richness of who I am exactly as I am, and being enough exactly as I am, that is still the truth for me. But it's interesting because I feel as much as Stanford was great, like there was a lot of, it sort of filled my life and my mind with like a lot of other things that created confusion or distraction, and
for sure,
a detour from that which I always knew to be true. And I honor it. I'm for so many rich things that came out of that experience. I'm certainly not the person I am today.
Same.
Like it had a knock on there, and the people are part of my life. But it has perplexed me a lot, because I'm like, the very place where their starting point was what matters most to you. And in many ways, I feel like I deepened my sense of who I was and lost a part of my who I was through that experience. And then the identity associated with having gone through there. And all of this is just like coming back to coming home to myself, complete and total self-love and self-acceptance, and just honoring the unique contributions that I have to give that are solely mine and don't need to look like anybody else's. And that is like the freedom that I want to live into. Honoring that which is most important to me. So,
and it's so funny. Like, I think and I used to work in admissions
Yes,
at the
you
GSB, and I remember getting this question constantly of like, how should I write that essay? And I'm like, you'll know you did it right. If it feels like you, not some like, drawn up, overly polished, I think this is what they want to hear kind of thing. And I think it's true, because like when I think about what I wrote about, I think I said mentorship was the word I used, but it really was community, right? And the concept of paying it forward. And literally what I'm doing right now, right, is that, right, trying to create this space for women to come together in community and kind of guide each other basically through this like very confusing, chaotic time in our lives, or beautiful time in our lives. And I feel like that I wrote that essay without any other input. I didn't go to like the blogs and look, and it really was answering it from like the deepest parts of my values. And that's why it still rings true. So I'm like, I might have to go back and pull up that essay just to remind myself on the days where the ego feels like it's winning. I need to go back and remind myself, because it really is still true to who I am and what matters most to me in the world. Yeah.
appreciating our younger selves, that we're connected to that deep truth that truly has been timeless. And even though, the journey and the manifestation of it has evolved and looked different, it is an amazing feeling to look back and be like, oh, I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That is
It's like,
still
look at little
true.
Simone.
I know. Oh, I love it. Oh, Simone, when we were scheduling this, you were like, girl, we could talk for hours. So I want to thank you for officially being my longest Tipa Talk that flew by.
Yes.
My soul is nourished.
Same.
I feel like we could do a round 2. So if you're open and willing, would love.
Yeah, maybe after you're done with the season, we can look at the full thing and talk about it, because I'm excited to see where it goes. And just want to thank you. I said this to you obviously in private, but want to thank you in public just for you sharing so much of yourself, your story. Like it is it really has been so nourishing to me in a time that can feel so, like I said, confusing and isolating, and just to like know like someone else has been through this, is going through this, has navigated, is navigating, right? And you tell it so beautifully, right? Like you just have this natural, all the empathy and curiosity, like I said, that just is you, emanates through it. And so I've been telling everybody who will listen to listen to this podcast, because it's what everyone needs, I believe, to hear, to be able to start living their most authentic life, right? And I say that because I feel like I've heard, I've read, there's so many books, things out there, and they all end with this like, here's step 1, step 2. You don't give us any steps, really. You give us reflection questions, which I think is important, because it's on us to do that work. Like you can't tell us actually what the right path towards, our own self-actualization is, right? You know what I mean? You can give us your story, but like all you can do is share, and then give people the tools to be able to figure it out for themselves. So I appreciate the fact that you do that, versus like, and here's step 1, step 2, step 3, and you make us do the work, which is where the juiciest part of life is, right? Like it's incredible. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. I'm so excited for the rest of the season.
Simone, thank you so much. As I'm breathing as you're saying all this, because I'm still practicing moving through the discomfort of like receiving your appreciation. So just naming that. And I want to thank you. And it feels good for the intention of the podcast for it to be landing the way I intended. And that I wanted to invite people into what felt like a very like warm, welcoming, little cozy, sacred space for you to just like can hear a story and then
Yeah.
be invited into your own reflection. And it is true. What I'm sharing may prompt something for you. I'm not prescribing,
Yep.
that is, we come we find our most aligned path forward by accessing the wisdom that only we can discern for
That's right.
ourselves.
That's right.
So, but we are inspired by and sparked by the incredible wisdom that surrounds us in our interactions when we slow down and listen. But yeah, like and as you know, you've also studied coaching as well. I mean, that is coming to your own answers and solutions. The ones that work for you, that's what's going to allow any sort of change to be sustained. And that's what I want for everyone, to find what feels like the most aligned and authentic path and way forward for themselves. And so thank you for listening and for the boost, because I still have the second half of the season to record. But exactly, I'm going to just allow myself to claim everything that I said that I wanted and honor my process. And I want to continue with the same energy of how I go about accessing these stories and creating this offering, this ongoing offering to the world, because that's what it feels like.
Yes.
With that, is there any? But I also want permission when you come back. I want to know where your tipas have been taking you. So just want to plant that seed.
Absolutely. Yes, I'm hoping to have so much to discuss about how this first Tipa has led me down whatever path. So I'm excited.
So beautiful. And I guess I try and end, folks, if you have not tuned into the season yet, inviting you to find us on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube. As Simone, you pointed out, maybe in a voice note, you're like, oh, I noticed that every story is building on each other. So it is it's meant to be a narrative arc where every episode builds on each other. And you could drop in at anyone and still understand what's going on. But there's a bigger arc that you'll feel tapped into if you follow the whole season through. And I'm excited to, continue to share the different ways in which the wisdom of Tipa helps support more intentional and aligned living and carrying out this revolution to claim more joy and freedom and alignment. And is there any other thing you want to give voice to in order to feel complete, Simone?
I think I'm good. Just thank you again for the opportunity to talk with you. Like I said, this is for everyone that's watching. This is us. This is just we talk like this all the time. Like literally, this is what we talk about all the time. And so thank you for allowing me to join you on Tipa Talk, and hopefully this helps just as much as your podcast has been, especially for me. So I'm excited to hear the rest of the season and also continue to chime in or to tune in for your other Tipa Talks too. So thank you.
Thank you, Simone. So grateful for you. And thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.